Dominik Mysterio once again wins the NXT North American title. Now, you watch the match. Give us your critique of where Dominik Mysterio is since we last spoke about him around WrestleMania time. So, his sort of improvements as a bad guy and what you make of him.
Well, the more experience he gets, the better he will be. I think right now he's running off that initial heat that he had when he joined Judgment Day. I think he's still trying to find himself as a single performer, even though he has the Ray Ripley out there with him. But it was a pretty good finish, decent finish. It didn't bury anybody. And I think they're dealing with a guy that got a lot of upside. So, and Triple H, he does have the a lot of patience of dealing with this guy. That's why he's in NXT. He's learning to do these matches on his own, and he's learning to add a little bit here, take away a little bit there. So, and contrary to a lot of people's beliefs, this business is not easy to learn. It's not. See, I've heard like WWE, they would book sometimes a year in advance, which sounds great. And it possibly can halfway be followed, but it doesn't take into account injuries or guys getting pissed off or just can't do it or getting hurt. I think somebody told me that one time. Vince knows exactly where he's going a year from now. I said, no, he might know the buildings he's going to. He might know the towns that are booked. As far as the actual kinks and the nuts and bolts of where he wants to go, no, he has a general idea, but he doesn't have it down yet. Mm-hmm. See, a lot of these guys that you say, well, I want to put them in a main event next year at WrestleMania. Well, they got to get over first. Great looking team, but will they get over? Because you give a team 3 months, if you don't handle them right, their fizz goes away. So, now he may have booked a year out with Hogan, because all he had to do was figure a year. He'd only have to figure out maybe 2 opponents for Hogan. Hogan's, say it starts in January. Hogan gets rid of one of the opponents, say at SummerSlam. Then he starts with somebody else for the next WrestleMania or the next big pay-per-view. It may take it about 3 or 4 months. Then they need that other heel to come in for WrestleMania again next year. So that's an art form, and not just anybody can do that. Hell, I know how it works, but could I do it today? Maybe, maybe not.
With Dominik, he's been, riding the wave of the Rey Mysterio feud for a while, and he's sort of found his feet with the Judgment Day, and he's still one of the people who gets the biggest reactions, positively or negatively, but people are reacting to him more than almost anyone else on the roster. But as you said before, the Rey Mysterio feud, the father-son feud, is still very fresh in people's minds, and if he's riding that wave at the moment, how long can you ride that wave before you need something just as big to continue the momentum? How would you continue the momentum?
The temperature in the room, they'll tell you. You can feel it cooling off because he's hot. He's hot right now. When he goes to the ring, you can't even hear him do an interview. And that may be turning the sound up a little bit just on your TV broadcast. But the people will tell you how far you can go with it. As long as they keep him in a position where he can keep pissing those people off, not necessarily working, but just being presented to the people. I think he has a long run. I think one thing that will help WWE right now, I think would even help Dirty Dom, thieving bastards, stole my name. I think having Randy Orton challenge Dominik, I think would create interest.
Why Randy?
Because he's been out for a year and a half, but maybe more. And he's over. So when he walks out there and he don't have that Matt Riddle to carry that excess baggage, all those problems that guy had. And if he comes out there, and Randy Orton is a loner anyway, because he works better in the loner fashion. And again, if you put him out there, give him a good interview or a good way to intersect Dominik, and he ends up slapping Dominik, or Dominik ends up slapping him, one or the other. That's all you need. You don't need an ass kicking. You just need a slap, because that's embarrassing. And when you punch somebody, you got to go fight. If you slap somebody, they have time to, because you get that. You don't see a slap that much, not with guys. A slap either way. I think Dominik may be slapping him, Orton, or the other way around. I think creates a lot of interest. So, and then you have Orton stalking him and take it to a pay-per-view. And he can actually beat Dominik there, because that's what the people, this is a very important move. The first time these guys meet, that's why the finish is very important. Either way, you gotta, I prefer that the heel beat the babyface. I mean, the babyface beat the heel, because then you get a big pop. But then you got to kind of rebuild it again, and you're rehashing yourself. Mm-hmm. So, but you got to be careful when you introduce a guy like Orton that they haven't seen for 2 years, and then you beating him right out of the block. That's a very, very touchy situation. But leave it to those guys in WWE. They got good finish guys backstage. It doesn't have to be a complicated finish, just a good one that maintains the heat. Or you can get Rhea Ripley in there. So a lot of ways you can do it. But I think Randy Orton coming back, actually against anybody, would, especially Dom, I think they would have instant, what they call synergy. Mm-hmm. I mean, combined energy together. And I would actually like to see that match.